All right, so the purpose of this meeting is to go over these narratives that we're going to try to use at town meeting. Um, and Also, Sabrina indicated that there's next Tuesday night, there's some kind of a YouTube presentation they're putting together for town meeting. I won't be able to be there, but maybe somebody
When
would
you
want to
say,
come
what do you
and
mean?
present,
You
just
mean
present.
TK's filming?
Yeah, TCAM is filming it for, YouTube or whatever. It's not a meeting, it's just a presentation for town meeting attendees, basically, or people who want to know what's going on at
Can you
town
ask
meeting. So,
questions? If you can
um,
ask questions, that would be great. But if it's just a presentation,
yeah,
you still have your questions, you know?
yeah.
Um, anyway.
I I told Sabrina I wasn't sure it was a great idea myself, but whatever.
All right.
But anyway, something to think about while we're doing the narratives. So, I could let me just read I did one for God, I don't understand what's going on with this. Zoom has taken over my computer. I can't, I can't get to anything else. Here it is. Um, so this is pretty short. The article that makes changes to the accessory apartment bylaw 14536 is fixing a few problems that the ZBA has encountered in issuing special permits for this use. Some changes were made to the bylaw by the planning board a few years ago that resulted in some confusion in the process. The goal of the ZBA in issuing these permits is to have a usable permit at the end. The Board of Health has been supplying reports to us regarding any changes to the existing septic systems they require, but the bylaw appears to require that the septic system upgrades be complete before the permit can be issued. We are fixing that. In addition, there's been some confusion about adequate means of ingress and egress to the accessory apartment, and we are not experts on the building code, so we are asking for a note from the building department that the proposed means of ingress and egress are compliant. This will prevent us from issuing a permit that bounces at the building department, wasting a lot of time. Finally, the size of the apartment in the current bylaw is limited to a maximum of 800 square feet. The old bylaw would permit a larger apartment, and the permit was only valid for 5 years. Thus, it is possible that a permit could be, quote, renewed that has a larger apartment. So we are adding a phrase that the applicant would not have to reduce the size of their apartment to comply with the new bylaw. And that's all I can think of.
That's Article 18. Okay.
17, right?
No, it's 18.
18, yeah.
And I know town council had some problems with us talking about the ingress and egress, but I haven't told them this, but I was going to basically ignore that because um, to me it's all about issuing a permit that's good. I mean, I really since we don't know, and people come in, so we've had people that want to use windows as means of egress, and I don't know, you know. So I think we should be at least informed whether the proposal meets the building code or not.
Well, I can address some of this. In order to get a building permit regardless, um, the septic system design has to be approved as part of the process before the permit's issued. So I don't think that's anything that we have to concern ourselves about. As far as egress, those are all already in the building code.
Robert, we're not discussing the warrant article. We're discussing the narratives about the warrant article that we're presenting at town meeting. So I
Okay,
think you're out of order here.
all right. The other
I know you
thing,
have issues. I know you have issues with this bylaw, and you know
I'm just
that's
trying,
we're not going to fix your issues in this town meeting. That's all I can say.
I'm not trying to be disruptive here. I just want to have a thorough review of everything we're doing. So
Yeah,
I
but
don't,
that's
in
not the
my,
purpose of this meeting to have a full review of everything we're doing. It's only to
you,
talk about the narratives for use at town meeting.
you know what? This is not working well, but my presence here. Um, so I appreciate the efforts of everybody here trying to do what they can for the community, and I thank you all for volunteering to be participants in this committee. Um, but it is a forum. We should be having opinions from everything that we should be able to think about and consider. And if you find my presence here is obstructive, I apologize for that. And I don't see any purpose in my being here anymore. So I'm going to take this meeting. I'm going to say a couple comments before I leave, and then I'm going to resign. The first comment I have is regarding the sound ordinance. I don't want to be on this committee recommending that at town meeting one. I don't believe it's been put in a proper position. This should not be under the health department at all. It doesn't make any logical sense. Anybody that would have a problem with the zoning bylaw would probably call the police. The police already have enforcement powers regarding keeping the peace. To put this burden, as the police are there 24/7. The police are also capable of doing something that gets way out of control, where a health department has no police powers to arrest or to control any kind of a disturbance. The fact that this was placed to a health department, which is already overburdened because it's tied to the Neshoba Board of Health, all because of a decibel reading, totally is, I can't understand the logic on that. Anybody can buy a decibel meter. I think this proposal should be simple and enforceable. Simple meaning directly to an agency that can do something about it, which would be the police department. I can envision a situation where the health department comes up on a complaint, really can't do anything about it other than record a decibel rating, when a police cruiser showing in somebody's yard is going to make a very powerful impact. So I believe it belongs under the police department. I think tying this to a scientific decibel reading is going to be a very difficult thing to execute and to validate. I know that ordinance is taken from one in another town, but in practicality, is it a realistic approach to deal with the problem? I think that our current law enforcement people have powers now regarding disturbing the peace. They need some guidance when things are out of control, where they can actually perform and act. And that should be tied not to a decibel rating, but the magnitude of the problem or the magnitude of the complaint.
Can I interrupt? I just want to say, Robert, that 83.7 Enforcement and Penalties A, the enforcing officer for this bylaw is the Town of Townsend Board of Health or its designated agent. The Town of Townsend Police Department shall be the designated first responder to situational or incidental noise complaints,
Okay,
which the department may choose in its discretion to refer to the Board of Health. So it depends on whether it's a criminal thing which the police department would handle. I mean, if someone was having a wild party, that's a little different from someone having something that makes great noise in their yard that is disturbing to the abutter,
right,
which would be more of a civil thing.
right.
So I just wanted to note that.
All right, well, I'm just presenting thoughts. And one of my concerns is we're supposed to be presenting this to the town. So I don't want our committee to look ridiculous or in terms of why is it going under the health department? And in terms of how it can be enforced. You know what I'm saying? I want to feel very solid when I recommend something to the town. And so to keep it simple, direct, that anybody can read in a zoning bylaw in advance, that the law enforcement people have. So my posture on this, as far as a recommendation to this group of people, is I would suggest a motion to withdraw this for further review and see if we can make it better. That's my suggestion. I don't have control here, you people do, all right? But I just trying to point out issues of concern. And are we all comfortable with addressing those things? And so I'm going to conclude. I really appreciate all your efforts. I appreciate you having me on this board, and I appreciate you having my opinion being heard. But if I can't feel I'm productive, or if I feel I'm obstructive, then I don't feel comfortable being here. And so please accept my posture here and my true gratitude for what you are doing, and I don't want to be obstructing it, okay? This is your town as well as mine. So I only want to do productive things, and if this isn't productive for this group, then why am I causing all this frustration and disturbance? Do you understand? So I have a role on the zoning board, planning board, and you know, I feel comfortable there. So thank you for all your time, and I have any apologies that I owe anybody, please accept them. Right, I hope my leaving won't destroy your quorum, will it?
No,
Okay, great, thank you.
we have 6 people.
Okay, great, thank you.
And we only need 5 if there are 8. However, if you are actually resigning, I believe you have to submit a resignation in writing to the town clerk.
Okay, well, thank you. Have a good day, people, thank you.
All right, does somebody want to go next?
Well, are we taking these in reverse order or something, Bill? I mean,
Oh,
you're,
I don't think it matters what order we use, but
I'm a very order dependent person. I mean, it doesn't
Was all this the warrant articles?
it wasn't sent individually to us, but it was posted on the website yesterday. Kathy posted it, and so if you go, do you want me to share screen here?
Should be able to go ahead.
So,
See if I can read this.
has anybody confirmed that it's the right, because I was very concerned about the wrong version. I got a message last week from Sabrina asking if, hey, is this the right version, and it was an old version that was completely wrong, missing large important parts of the lighting.
Here we go.
bylaw.
There we go.
So, I guess we'll find out.
Sharing right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right behind you, yes.
Okay, so let me.
I never got an answer. I asked, what,
Okay, so you just did Article 18. We're at the very end of the, warrant. Let me go through.
oh,
So the
just,
one,
just scroll, you would just
where do you
pass
want?
go to the lighting, which is the lighting one, article.
It's like 16.
Oh, wait,
or
okay,
something.
okay.
Here
It's
it
the
is.
tail end of the lighting there with the diagrams.
Past the diagrams, that everything after that was missing. So keep going down,
Outdoor
Next page.
lighting,
keep going,
exceptions, effective
keep going,
dates,
keep going,
severability.
keep going. Okay, keep going. Yep, it's gone. It's
It's gone.
missing.
What's
So-
missing?
Yeah.
An entire section of the lighting
That's-
article. So I brought this to everybody's attention well before this was finalized and nobody did anything about it, so
This
pretty
was-
upsetting.
Mhm.
This is my narrative, but I say we can't do it now. The lighting is out, can't do lighting. This is missing from the warrant. The part that's missing is the enforcement part, the part that, so if this can't be changed, then it's out. We have to,
You want me to make a phone call?
yeah, who can we call?
Mhm.
I mean, I have messages galore to every,
Mhm.
Sabrina, Eric, nothing ever got returned.
Okay, I'm calling. Mhm. Hey, Eric. I'm calling from the Bylaw Review Committee, and I guess I should just let you know that you are on camera right now. Speakerphone or whatever. We're looking at the bylaws. We're going over our narratives for these for town meeting. And the outdoor lighting bylaw is missing a section. Michael pointed this out.
More than a week ago.
More than a week ago, he, let, Sabrina know that there was a section missing. It's the enforcement section. I'm looking at the warrant. I'm screen sharing the warrant right now, and sure enough, it is not there. Does that mean that we have to pass over this? Or what does that mean?
No, we'll just have to read the amended version
We
into
can,
at town meeting.
okay, so we can, read the amended version. Like
The
a
entire-
rereading
the entire
it
thing.
in its,
And change, just as like somebody wanted to make a motion to amend it on the floor, they could do that. They
Okay.
can read an amended version into the.
So-
So should we have a handout with the
Yes.
amended bylaw available to pass out when people sign in?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And literally read the entire thing, and that's gonna take like a half hour.
Or do we need to read the whole thing, or can we say we are gonna bypass reading the section? It's pretty long. We're talking several pages here.
Yes.
Can we,
It's possible to say, yeah, we're gonna, there's a section that was omitted, so we're gonna, make a motion to do, sort of take through the bylaw as amended with the following section added, and read.
read the amended version?
Even the section added is long, but it's not as bad as the whole. thing.
Okay, and have a handout. Okay. All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Thank you
unless
very
it's in here
much.
Somewhere.
Okay, talk to you
Thanks,
later.
Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye-bye. Okay.
That's just.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I have out.
I know, but never returns calls, never.
All right.
She was out at that day, thing.
All right, so that, Article 16 is outdoor lighting, so Bill, which one are we taking next? Should we do that one?
Yeah, why don't we do that one since we're here?
And should we couple that with Article, let me figure out what number it is. that removes, we did 18, Article 16. Let me go down here.
I thought it was supposed to be in the same article, both actions, no?
I'm looking. I don't see it. I thought I was looking for the removal. For the accessories, fees for large mounted. It's Article 20. Article
20, okay.
so Article 16 is the amended, we read the amended version, then down at Article 20, that's the deletion.
Uh,
of
That's not
our-
exactly what we planned. Did somebody put an or in this, or what's the deal?
It looks like it was entered this way, and,
Deletion of,
yeah, and so it's a separate article.
no, there's no way I support this. A separate article for deleting the zoning bylaw?
Yeah.
No way. I will, I'm against the whole thing.
Okay, so, Bill.
This committee didn't recommend that.
This is what's all
So-
published.
By what authority? Who published it?
The Board of Selectmen, they
So
voted on
decided to change
Tuesday,
it?
probably at the
Well,
recommendation of,
it may not be so bad because town council pointed out that you can't really have the lighting bylaw in two different places. He said, didn't he point out some case law on this where you're not allowed to do that? So I think if we
That was,
I think we're okay if we get Article 16 with the general bylaw, we'll be able to point out to the town meeting that we have to do Article 20. Otherwise, we're going to be in violation of, whatever. We'll figure it out.
well, then it's back to my concern if Article 16 doesn't pass, but I guess we'll have to go to that scenario.
if it doesn't pass, we pass over Article 20.
All right, assuming
Yeah,
that
right.
can,
Oh, yes, that can be done.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
We
who
can do-
passes over? It's up to us, or it's up to what if other people want to pass? Or
Well, someone will probably read it and you would have to say, or we would have to say that we'll ask Eric about this. But,
Right.
Well, we can
Mr.
move to
Chairman,
pass over before it's read even, I think. I mean, you just have to be the
Yeah.
first person out of your chair when it
Right.
comes up.
we would just have to get the moderators,
right.
and-
Okay. And now, by the way, now that I'm reading it, I got it off the website. So that missing language is in there. It's just in a different order. It's at the beginning. I had actually taken it and put it at the end, but it's back at the beginning, maybe the stuff on enforcement.
Oh, so we're not missing.
So we're not missing it.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So we
Okay.
have Article 16, which has the enforcement section and it has the removal and replacement of the general bylaw. So are we now back to, we only need a 50%, 51% majority?
Where is this at? I think this is a 50%er, yeah.
Article 16.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Now the zoning part is separate.
the
so-
zoning part is down below.
All right.
So, okay, so we need 50% for, Article, what is it? 16. Article
I
16.
think when we get to Article 20, we'll get Adam to pop up and give us a nice legal explanation of why we have to we have to pass Article 20
I would
because
just,
we passed Article 16.
right.
Right, once Article 16 passes, it almost wouldn't matter, because it would just be duplication,
But
which
it-
would be confusing, admittedly.
But it does have to be voted positively for
Yeah.
20,
Right,
which is the reason we
yeah.
coupling, but
And-
anyway.
And that's the one that needs a 2/3.
Yes, anything that is a zoning bylaw needs a 2/3 vote. So if you look from Article 18 down, these are zoning bylaws and adoptions, and that's the 2/3 vote. So what Bill was reading about the accessory apartments needs 2/3. And then there's solar stuff that needs, 2/3 because it's zoning. And then, the deletion. So,
Okay. So back to, that was like, a long time ago, the original plan.
right, that was, yeah.
Okay.
I am guessing that it was town council that, because town council reviews this right before it gets voted. So,
All right, so it looks like it's all there then. I mean, I haven't read every word.
okay, so we don't need a handout or a reading an amended version. Okay.
Looks like we don't,
Not
which is good,
needed.
because, you know.
Usually enforcement usually is at the beginning of that
Okay.
bylaw, usually,
Mhm.
not always, because I think that, anyway, go ahead. I'll be quiet.
So if we're doing lighting, I don't know, so I wrote a narrative, I don't know if people have read it or.
I have not read it. I think it was sent to us yesterday.
Okay. So
last night I saw it, or
what,
maybe
do
it
you
was
want me
this
to
morning.
like read it? Or
Yes.
Just literally read it?
How long is it?
It's a page and a half, single.
Yeah, you can do it.
I haven't actually tried it, so I don't know how long it takes, but
Okay.
sure. Okay.
So this is Article 16, the general bylaw. All right.
All right, so outdoor lighting has been regulated in Townsend since at least 1978. And by the way, my basis for saying that is that when you read the zoning bylaw, there's a section that says outdoor lighting. It's actually under the sign section, signs, but it's a subsection, outdoor lighting. And it has a very general requirement that you should not be able to see the actual light from beyond the property line, which is actually a very strict requirement, which is never been enforced. And that is still on the books. But anyway, when you look at the date of the bylaw, it says 1978. So I don't know if that's, I mean, I assume we had zoning bylaws earlier than that, but that's the date on the zoning bylaw.
Zoning bylaws
Yeah.
came in 2000.
Oh, okay,
There's-
so it might have been 70.
There's some pretty old zoning bylaws. I got a bunch.
Yeah, so in my mind, that it's at least 1978, if not earlier. But anyway, in 1997, the town adopted 2 new bylaws covering private and public lighting. These bylaws have not been updated in 27 years. The Bylaw Review Committee found that the bylaws could benefit from greater clarity, increased flexibility, and consideration of recent technological changes. We are therefore proposing revised outdoor lighting bylaw to replace the existing bylaws. The revised version retains the main components of the existing bylaws, but would achieve greater clarity and ease of implementation. So first, I'm going to summarize briefly the current regulations. As stated in the current bylaws and also retained in the revised bylaw, the goals are to eliminate glare, thus enhancing safety, minimize light trespass to neighboring properties, reduce sky glow, and reduce energy use. This is accomplished by shielding and aiming lights downward to the area where the light is needed. There are 2 main specific requirements. First, lights must be fully shielded, also known as full cutoff lighting. And secondly, the height of private lighting fixtures is limited to 25 feet with lower limits near the property line. The current and also the revised bylaws apply only to relatively bright lights above 900 lumens for floodlights and otherwise 1800 lumens for other types of lights, and therefore do not regulate most lighting that would be installed by a typical resident. The bylaw has no limits whatsoever on how many lights can be installed or how bright the lights are, provided that the lights are properly shielded. Now, the proposed revisions, I'm going to go through now. The committee, in consultation with town council, drafted a revised bylaw that retains many of the major elements of the current bylaws, but makes it clearer and more flexible. In summary, the revised bylaw has the following elements. Currently, there are 2 separate bylaws, a zoning bylaw for private lighting and a general bylaw for public lighting. This has caused confusion at times. We are proposing a single general bylaw covering both private and public lighting. Next, the revised bylaw has the same stated goals as the current bylaw and retains the requirement for full shielding of lights. The protections against light trespass would be more flexible and easier to implement. There will now be 2 options to minimize light trespass. First, the first option would be to adhere to the height limit, as was the case in the old bylaw. Secondly, you'll have an option, if limiting the height is not practical, second option would be to direct or shield the light so that the intensity of light at the property line is below a specified level, which is easily measured. Another requirement will be that applications for building permits for future new construction would include specifications of any outdoor lighting included in the planned project. Consistent with recent policy recommendations by the American Medical Association based on potential health effects of lighting at night, future lighting installations would have a color temperature no higher than 3000 K. This would avoid harsh blue light and its associated health issues and excessive glare. This policy has already been implemented for the new street lights that were installed 5 years ago, and outdoor lighting installed at town buildings and schools in the past several years. Future sports lighting projects would follow up-to-date guidelines that ensure that the light falls in or near the playing field and not in the adjacent neighborhood. Recent innovations in lighting technology and available commercial lighting products make this practical to implement. Projects following these guidelines would not be subject to the remainder of the bylaw. The exceptions in the current bylaw would remain. That is, the regulations would not apply to lights below 900 or 1800 lumens, wouldn't apply to temporary emergency lighting or lights required for safety purposes by state or federal regulations. The new bylaw would be administered by the town administrator, the building commissioner, or a designee. Current lighting that conforms to current bylaws would not have to comply with any new requirements until it is replaced. And finally, the revised bylaw includes illustrations of acceptable lighting, thus making it clear to town officials and all town residents what types of lights would meet the goals of the bylaw. So in summary, the revised bylaw has the same goals and retain most elements of the current bylaws. However, the regulations would be consolidated into a single bylaw, which would be clearer, more flexible, and easier to implement.
I think that's good.
Yeah, really good.
Thanks. Not too wordy. I mean, there's a lot to talk
No,
about.
not too wordy.
Just FYI, that took you 6 minutes.
6 minutes? All right.
That's not bad. That's tolerable.
Yeah.
All right. So what about Article 20? Are we going to say anything before that? Do we need to have something written for that, do you guys think? I don't
For
know.
the Article 20? No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think we're just gonna ask town council to weigh in on that and give people a
Based
reason
on-
to approve it.
On the passing or otherwise of Article 16. Okay. That works. All right. Can we go to Article 17? Or is there more to say? Should I do 17, Bill?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So this is the corrections to the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust bylaw. The narrative I wrote says that Article 17 corrects the typographical errors that exist in the affordable housing bylaw that was accepted by the town at the 2023 annual meeting and approved by the Attorney General's office. The changes are as noted in the article. Section 48, which is as it's written, should be Section 4B. In Section 14, Section 5C should read 55C. And in Section 140.15, where it states Article 7, Article 13, and Article 12, these should actually be Section 8, Section 14, and Section 13 respectively. This article merely corrects those typos.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It was pointed
That's
out.
fine.
They were pointed out by the Attorney General's office. This isn't in the narrative. When they approved the bylaw, they said, oh, by the way, there are typos. You might want to correct them.
Wow,
So,
that's such
Well-
service from the Attorney General. That's awesome.
well, they
Well-
read it. They actually read it.
At least they didn't reject it because of the typos, that's.
No, they
Yeah.
didn't. And the contents of this bylaw is the definition of the trust that was recorded at the registry a couple years ago. The bylaw just makes it so that you can go to the bylaws and see it. You don't have to go to the registry to see what the Affordable Housing Trust does. What's at the registry is correct and does not have the typos.
Oh,
But when it got here, it has the typos in it. So it doesn't change really anything. I mean, if it's voted down, it just means that we have typos in our file.
right.
So that's
You have to
it.
go to the registry to read it.
If you were to, these sections were important to you and you were going to go to Mass General Law to look them up, you would be a little confused. And you would probably figure out that, yeah, those are typos. But it's just this, it's for clarity, that's all. That's it.
Sounds
That's
good.
all. It's much like the COA one.
Oh, yeah.
What else we got? The noise? Which one is it?
1863 apartments.
We did the accessory apartments, that's what Bill did first.
Right.
We have the COA one, right? So I'm backing up here, I hope I'm not making everybody crazy. Let me get to where we start with these. All right, so Article 13 is Council on Aging. So why don't we go there? Is that okay? Good?
Yeah.
So
Sounds good.
I was a little confused when I wrote what I sent out. So I just kind of rewrote it, listening to what you all have been doing. So I would say chapter 22-1, Council on Aging membership currently lists the term of service as 4 years. The actual practice is 3-year terms of service. We'd like to change the bylaw to reflect actual practice. Pretty simple.
Perfect. That sounds,
Yep. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
okay, Article 13.
And hopefully no one will say, why don't
Hopefully
you?
we can avoid any complex questions on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Why don't you make it do 4 instead?
No.
all right, the fees under the scenic roads bylaw, that's not us, that's the planning board. All right, Article 15 is noise control, that's us. And it sounds like Robert just disagrees with having a noise control bylaw or
How it's being enforced.
Enforced.
Enforced by the Board of Health.
or designee.
Well, I just have to point out again that the Association of Boards of Health says that using the Board of Health is the best way to enforce noise bylaws. So
So,
that's
I feel like
that's like a state association of boards of health. They're recommending using boards of health. So whatever.
Calling
So-
the police, they'll just say, well, there's no specific requirement that we can point
they're
to.
not breaking a criminal kind of
Mhm.
law, so they
Right.
don't tend to. So the question is, who is writing the narrative for the noise bylaw? Bill, I think that what you just said, you can listen to this recording and, I think that Robert's concern should be addressed. I think it, the noise complaints that the town has received made this bylaw seem like it needed to be in place. That we, the town, needed a noise bylaw. And that whoever state association of the Board of Health recommends that the enforcement of this bylaw be done by the Board of Health. is why they're the enforcement officer.
And I spoke to the police chief about this, and he was not enthusiastic about being involved at all in the enforcement of the noise bylaw. So he felt it wasn't really appropriate for them.
Well, it is true that there needs to be somebody you can call if there's if there's an immediate situation, which is often the case with noise. You just have a loud, something very loud,
Like a wild party.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's the other situation where, like, say you have an industrial plant and they have, a loud compressor and you live next door. That might be more of the Board of Health situation where it's like a piece of equipment that's too loud and somebody has to determine if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's the wild party thing, but there's also consistent high noise activities that the Board of Health is equipped to deal with. So,
Right.
and I spoke to what's his name, the agent,
Rick, Metcalf.
Rick. Yes, I spoke to Rick about this, and he said, "Oh yeah, we're doing that." He says, "I haven't done any of it, but none of the towns that he's assigned to at the moment have noise bylaws. So, but his other colleagues have been actively involved in some noise enforcement activities. So it didn't seem like a big stretch to me to use the Board of Health for this,
So would you like,
given all the. I didn't write anything on this, but I could write something, sure.
did we designate someone to write this? I can't
I
remember.
think,
I
I thought Bill said he was going to do this one.
Okay, so it's you,
To
Bill,
be honest.
and you've got, I mean, you've got it. Just listen to the tape of this meeting and write down these words.
Okay.
So,
Anything else? Anything else to be said on this? On
I
this
mean,
noise bylaw at the moment? I'm sorry.
Exceptions. You could point out that there are exemptions, like the, snow removal, the chimes from the congregational church, anything like that.
Yeah.
Normal motor vehicle traffic, anything like that is exempted. It's more the industrial things that you were talking about, or noise that's persistent.
Yeah.
So. It's interesting that the enforcement and penalties, no. It seems further down, it wasn't in there. Anyway, okay, so you'll write that one, Bill?
Yep.
All right.
How do these narratives, are these just for our use in presenting it, or are they
What
submitted to
happens
somebody?
is that the Board of Selectmen or whomever reads the thing, and then, the moderator usually says, are there any comments? But before that, you just say, Mr. Moderator, I have a report, and you're on the committee that brought it forward, and he recognizes you. We can maybe tell, John, that we have these ahead of time. But usually that's how it works.
Which is the first one, the COA.
It's you, yeah. You're the first one.
Star.
You are, that's how it fell out. I don't know why, but it did. So
So,
yeah, it's you, and then it's Bill for noise. What is 16? 16
lighting.
is lighting. 17 is the housing trust. 18 is the affordable housing. And then it's 20 for the deletion of the bylaw. Those are the ones that we have.
so that's it.
Yeah.
Well, that was everything though, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Some of the things we put off to when the whole thing gets reviewed next year.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So how does that happen again? They introduced the warrant article.
John will say something like, Article 17, is there a motion? And whoever is listed here is reading the motion. will say, Mr. Moderator, I move that, blah, 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 and there has to be a second, which typically comes from the Board of Selectmen, but sometimes comes from the audience. Doesn't have to come from the Board of Selectmen. So after the
That's my,
second,
that's my favorite job, seconding those motions.
right, I mean, it depends. So then there's a second, and then
Yeah.
you say, Mr. Moderator, I have a report. Or
Okay.
whatever. And John will usually recognize you, but if we warn him ahead of time, he'll know to
Oh,
recognize.
so what are you seconding or exactly? What each?
And it's just that before you take comments on it, it's nice to have the narrative read, the reason
Yeah.
for, the quote unquote report.
Right.
So you.
Well, every question that gets answered by the narrative is one that's not going to take up the time of town meeting, is the way to look at it.
Yeah, that's right. So the objective of the narrative is to anticipate the questions, to explain the article. This is why we have it. This is why it's here. This is what it does. This is, whatever.
Oh, these actually, so first somebody says, now we're considering Article 13 or whatever. Is it read or literally or
Well,
not?
the moderator says, moving on to Article 13 after the vote, is there a motion?
Yeah,
And the Board of Selectmen typically make the motion.
right.
It says who's reading the motion, if you look at the warrant article.
Oh, that's what read by means?
Yes, that's who's
Yeah.
gonna make. the motion. And so after they read the motion and the motion is seconded, then you say, Mr. Moderator, I have a narrative. He needs to know. Sometimes he asks, is there a report?
Right. Yeah, you just say, I have a report, and that's the key word that they're looking for. So,
Oh, okay, so it's noise, I see, it says submitted by Bylaw Review Committee, read by Teresa Morse. So Terry Morse is gonna get up and say, we're now looking at the noise, a proposed noise bylaw.
well, she will say, I move that,
I move that we're not
Right.
gonna read the whole thing
Well,
unless.
in theory, you are supposed to read the whole thing.
Mhm.
All right, so she will say, I will, I move that the town vote to amend chapter 1 of the general bylaws and then article 2, blah, 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 whatever it is. And, I'm reading noise, not light. And, sometimes the moderator, especially if it's long, will ask the townspeople, if they would, say no, you don't have to read it.
Waive the reading.
The read,
Oh, okay,
right.
needed to be a vote on that.
Yeah, or sometimes he just says, he doesn't really take a vote, he just says,
Voice vote or something.
something like that, yeah.
well, does anybody object to not reading it? I think is what he usually says, but
Yeah, something like that. It becomes a consensus kind of thing, more than a motion and blah, blah, blah.
As long as you can say, yes, we don't mind if you waive the reading, because you've got the written version that you can review right in your hands.
Which is why if we needed an amendment, we would need to have a handout.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Second?
yeah. So your Article 13.
Read by Chaz.
And it was submitted by select board, is that?
Well, because we are a subcommittee of the select board, I don't think any of these say by law
Some of them
review.
do that, do say. But
Do they?
Yeah. Noise and lighting, I think.
yeah, there's some things that they don't want to be responsible for.
Yeah, here it is. What's bylaw review committee. Okay, let's see outdoor lighting.
Pretty sure Bylaw Review Committee.
Get down there. Bylaw review committee, yeah, look at that.
The whole time.
All right. Oh,
Yeah.
and it's Affordable Housing Trust for the, okay, for that one, all right. Anyway, all right, a planning board for the For the accessory apartments? It says planning board, not CBA, Bill.
Well, it's not the ZBA, it's the bylaw review committee.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
whatever. Well, I
Whatever.
mean, the planning board did have a hearing, so maybe we could consider that their submission, whatever.
It could be, but, all right. So didn't they have one for outdoor lighting as well? For the removal? I don't know.
Yeah, they're blaming us for that one. Article
Okay.
20.
Yeah. All right, so that's all of ours, right? Those are all
Yeah.
of ours.
I think so.
All right.
Is there anything in there about approving the funds to hire, that company to do all the bylaws?
Um,
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I was wondering, Bill, if there's something in there about approval of the funds
I'm gonna stop.
to hire the external company for a total bylaw review?
I didn't see that when I went through here.
Oh, no, no, we ran into a problem there because it's over $10,000 total. There have to be 3 quotes. So, apparently, and there wasn't time to get 2 more quotes. And I suggested breaking it up into 2 pieces.
But
And apparently that's a real no-no, worse than a faux pas to put half of it on this town meeting and the other half on the next. I guess you can't do that. So
no, that's not, I would think that we would have to, even if we didn't know who it was, to set aside the funds for the review of the bylaws, set aside some set of funds. We don't have to have a name or a contract, but to just set aside
Mhm.
funds for bylaw review. Otherwise, the monies are not there.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know what happened with that.
I suppose
I
we
have
could.
to ask Uncle Chaz. I'm sure had something to do with that.
well, I don't know. That's a little disconcerting.
When was the next chance be in the fall or something?
Yeah,
I mean, we can get the quotes, but we know that we have one quote at least, so if we set aside that amount, we could only do better maybe by getting other quotes, but at least. You know.
I don't know why this link isn't working anymore.
Hmm.
Anyway, okay, so, yeah, I did not see that when I went through the warrant, and I went through the warrant pretty well last night. Hmm.
Well, it certainly was submitted, so somebody struck it out of there.
I
We
could
don't
have
know.
missed it. It could be a line item. I didn't read the budget with a fine tooth comb. And there could be a line item for consultants or technical services under the BOS budget.
Yeah.
And I can't
yeah.
make this link open again. I don't know what I did. So anyway, I'm not screen sharing anymore, correct? I don't know why my link won't open, but it won't. So,
Okay.
Well, Eric might know the answer too. So
yeah,
we'll
we
see.
can check on that. I was glad to see there was 5,000 for the, 300 anniversary or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The town has been putting away 5,000 every year for several years, so that when the time comes, there will be money for the celebration.
Oh, wow.
And it's been done pretty consistently over the past 5 years or so. maybe
Why is that?
more.
If I remember the signs, it was 1732, is that the year that the town was founded? So it would be 8 years from now.
Yeah, something like that. And so the idea
Yeah.
was to be able to have funds for that. So,
Yeah.
anyway, and that is in there. I looked.
Funds that haven't been appropriated by the regional school district, right?
Well, the budget's this is just me talking. I looked at the budget and the monies that's in there are the monies that were requested that were turned down for the override. So I'm not exactly sure how the budget works. I know too much about budgeting. I have a concern about trash because the special town meeting warrant has 2 articles on it. And for a 5-year contract, you're only allowed to have a 3-year contract by general code. Our bylaws only allow for 3 years. It's 5 years. And they're asking to vote for a 5-year, and there's no contract available to review. And if you look at our trash, the trash in there goes up in the budget minimum of $70,000. We pay $780,000 roughly a year for trash collection in town. And it's up to like 860,000 roughly. Those are rough numbers, don't quote me, but it's in there. And that's huge. If we're gonna go up that much, then shouldn't there be an override for that? Can we afford to do that? And what we're not doing is putting any money in the let's fix the roads bucket. So, there's I forget the words for it, but there's a bucket that we're supposed to be putting 150,000 a year in, and we're not. Last year we managed to put 100K in, but this year nothing's going in. And that's concerning. So there are a lot of concern.
Well, there was an override for trash collection many years ago.
Right. And
So-
so should we, well, yeah, so we should spend that amount for trash collection. But if it's
Yeah, it was-
more, it should
Yeah,
be pretty.
it was like
And
five or 600,000, I think, at the time, something like that. And
Right.
it's definitely the most efficient way to do trash. I mean,
And so
compared to private trash collection, it's way cheaper for people.
No, it's not. It's about equivalent, especially if you're paying 800,000 plus, and in 3 years, you're paying $1 million. So, it
Alright.
comes right now to about $270 a year per household. I did the math. And if you, with, I don't know how many households we have. I know when it was last bid, it was around 3,200. I get it with 3,500 households. And it comes out to about that. So the question is it less expensive or not? And at what point is it part of the regular budget? And where are the bids? We're worried about a, $20,000 bid. We don't have 3 quotes. Where was it bid out? I looked through the minutes and I can see where the RFP came out, but I have never seen bid results. So were there 3 bids? Or did we just go get a contract from the current vendor? Yes.
I have covering the Board of Health meeting. The current vendor is the only one that replied. One other vendor replied regretting that they would not be submitting a bid. And the third one never replied at all, so
Where was it posted?
I'm just telling you the result.
And where are the results? Where were they discussed? There's no minutes that say they were even discussed. It's not on the agenda anywhere. It talks about, we reviewed the language of the RFP, and then the next meeting, it goes straight to Shaw for a contract.
All I can tell you
So-
is go to the town YouTube channel and go into the playlist for Board of Health and
I will look. All right. But anyway,
Okay.
and anything that's in the special town meeting the funds can be spent in the current fiscal year, meaning prior to July 1st. Anything in the annual meeting can only be spent after July 1st. So when you look at the special town meeting, we're pulling a lot of money out, and they're requesting the vote on the 5-year contract so that they can do it before the end of the fiscal year, is my guess. All right, so we're taking all this money out of free cash, but then when you look at the annual town meeting, this is Veronica Cal ranting away here. When you look at the annual town meeting and you look at that budget is way over 2.2%, or 2.5% for, for what you're allowed to, and it includes the monies that weren't approved in the override for the schools. They're still in there. And then there's a catch-all article where you say, well, if we can't raise and appropriate, we're gonna take it out of free cash. Do we have millions of dollars in free cash? And if we do, we'll go for an override. Yes?
Only thing I can offer for the school budgets being the same as what you saw, that's the last thing the town has to work on. They have to wait for the school to come back with a revised budget, either higher, the same, or lower. Until then, those are the numbers the town has to work with currently.
Right. So there you have it. So we're not done yet, I guess, is what it,
Well, that sounds typical. It's only 2 weeks till town meeting.
There are 2 weeks. Sometimes it's the next day or the next week. There's more time, this year. I mean, I can remember having a vote on Monday and then having to rework the budget before we got to town meeting, the next week, having meetings every day. So anyway,
That's the 11th town meeting.
7,
Yeah.
May 7.
Yeah. Okay.
So Tuesday, is that a Tuesday? It's Tuesday night. Usually first Tuesday in May. By general code. So
I got it. Okay.
that's it.
That's all?
Yeah.
All right, everybody happy?
Yes.
I guess our problems are trivial compared to the budget. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Second motion.
Polling members, Michael,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Ronnie, yes.
Adjourn.
What about you, Bill?
oh, yes. Okay, we're done. Thank you very much.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.